Alright, Matt here with the Movement System, and I'm going to review the top 3 personal training certifications and help you decide which one's right for you. So it can be really confusing deciding on a personal training certification because there are so many out there. There are so many that you can do in just a weekend with a really low barrier to entry, meaning the exam is fairly easy. But if you actually want to get a career and a job in this industry, you do want something that's an accredited certification. So the top 3 that I'm going to go over today are the ACE, the American Council on Exercise, CPT or Certified Personal Trainer certification. Second, the NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, CPT. And then third, the NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association, CPT. So basically, all 3 of these are NCCA accredited certifications. What that accreditation actually means is that the certification is high quality and the exam has been looked at by an accrediting body, and that will actually help you be safe with clients and train people effectively. So we do want one that is NCCA accredited, and what comes along with that is that most big gyms, think like LA Fitness, Orange Theory, Anytime Fitness, Crunch Fitness, those all will accept these 3 big certifications. 2 requirements though that before you even sit for the exam. 1, you have to have graduated high school and be 18 years old, and then 2, you have to have a current CPR and AED certification with live skills training. So basically you can do this through the Red Cross or the American Heart Association. It's going to be a 3 to 4 hour course usually. You want to go in person, usually on the weekends, like a Saturday course. It's again usually like 3 to 4 hours. You can sign up at local places. If you go to the Red Cross or the American Heart Association, their website, which I'll link in the description below, and there should be something that you can do locally if you just use their search engine there. So you're going to want to get that certification first and then sit for your personal training certification, so that way as soon as you pass the exam you'll actually be certified and good to go and ready to work with clients. So I'm going to go over the ACE first. This is in a lot of ways the gold standard in the industry because it's the one that most people get. It's the most encompassing. It's kind of an umbrella certification to work with a bunch of different populations, all the way from youth to geriatrics and anything in the middle. So basically with this certification, it's going to be a 150 question test. 25 of those questions are basically like fake questions that they put in there to kind of use to create future questions. So with that, you're going to have 125 scored questions, and out of that you're going to need to get about 90 correct. It's scored similar to the SAT, which is 200 to 800 points, and you need 500 points to pass and be certified. There's really no benefit to getting 800 or 700 or anything. Once you're certified, and no one's going to ever ask you how much you got on the test. So don't worry about that. You do just need a pass, and it's going to take some studying to get there. So the way it works, you can get a book or you can do a study course through ACE. Basically, they include that with the certification price to take the exam. So it's going to be around $699, although most of the time there's a sale of 10 to 20%. If you sign up for their emails or if you just kind of go on, like they're almost always having a sale. So you can get that down around like the $500 mark pretty easily, at least at this time in 2019. If you want to, you can also do a group fitness certification through ACE, but basically you're going to want one certification to get you in the door and then get experience, and then there's actually a benefit to doing additional certifications later on because of what we call continuing education credits. So basically, to maintain yourself as a certified personal trainer through any of these certifications, whether it be the ACE, the NASM, or an NSCA, you're going to require continuing education credits. So that's basically 20 hours that you spend every 2 years doing something that continues your education in the industry. So doing another certification is an example, going to a workshop, doing an online program. There are tons of options for this. Basically, you'll want to get 20 credits, and if you go to a workshop that's 8 hours, that'll be 0.8 credits or 8 credit hours that works up to your 20. And as long as you get to 20 by the end of 2 years, you do still have to pay $129 to recertify, but then you'll be certified for another 2 years. So not too bad there. If you have multiple certifications, the recertification drops to about $69 per certification every 2 years to recertify. Basically, I would recommend the ACE for most people who want to get started in personal training. Again, that's the one I did. It's a pretty comprehensive exam. About 70 to 80% of the exam is application and analysis, meaning like mostly scenario questions. Like John is coming in with a certain blood pressure and certain goals, and then they'll ask you some detailed question about like how do you work with John safely. The exam booklet is really comprehensive and good. If you can go through that exam booklet, take a bunch of practice questions, and study for probably 2 to 3 months, at least 6 to 10 hours a week, then you'll be good to go and take the test and start working as a CPT. So that's the review of ACE. Now we're moving on to NASM. So NASM is the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and basically this one is very systematic. It's very numbers and assessment and protocol oriented. They give you a lot of training programs and protocols to follow. So if that's kind of how your mind works, then this could be a good certification for you. They basically tell you that you should do like endurance and stabilization exercises first, and then move on to strength, and then move on to like muscle growth, and then power last. And they give you some assessment protocols as well about how to assess people's movement and what they need for their goals and that kind of thing. It's good. I mean, if a lot of it can be excessive to start. So to be honest, like if you start with a NASM, it's going to be a little bit difficult to follow all this with individual clients, because not all clients will want to follow this exact protocol. A lot of people will come in with the goal of, you know, like I want to do more strength work, and then if you try to get them to do all stabilization work, they're just not going to buy next, you know, package of sessions to work with you. So take it with a grain of salt if you are going to use the NASM protocols and assessments and buy into their whole system. But that being said, the exam, studying for the exam will teach you a lot, and you'll get a really good background of exercise science and programming and how to work with clients this way. Their exam, they do have an exam only option for $599, but you'll usually get a little bit better deal by doing a package of training of like study material and the exam. So for $700, but again, there's usually a discount of 10 to 20% going on. So if you wait a month, you'll probably come across a discount and be able to get it around like $525 to that $600 range to get the exam and some basic study materials. I would start there. They're going to be trying to sell you exam materials up to $2,000 actually, and this comes with a couple things like a 90-day job guarantee. I would again just stay away from that and just stick with the basics and just really study the basic booklet they give you. If you read through that, take some notes on notebook paper. That's all I did to study, and it can work out. You just have to be kind of dedicated to it. I think actually if you get too much study material, it can be overwhelming. If you just get one book and start with chapter 1 and just read through it and outline some stuff, move on to chapter 2, read through an outline, review, do some practice questions, that's what you need, and just spend time with it. NASM, again, is good for people who like that analysis, systems, and programming approach and like that guidance. And then moving on to NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association. This is going to be a really good certification for anyone who wants to work with athletes. So anyone who's interested in strength and conditioning field, or eventually getting into sports training or working with a team, this is going to be a really good certification for you. They are a big organization that is kind of the gold standard in strength and conditioning. They have an even higher level certification for strength and conditioning specialists, which I have, and I could talk about in a different video. But for their certified personal training exam, it's still tailored a little bit more towards athletes, and some of the metrics that are involved in the assessments in that will help you with training youth and adult athletes. That exam only is $300 for members of the NSCA, and if you're going to get the certification, you might as well join as a member, because non-member pricing for the exam is actually up to $435. So basically, join, take the exam for $300, and then if you do decide to discontinue your membership after a year, you'll kind of still end up on top in terms of cost effectiveness and value there. The textbook, again, if you go through that textbook, it is beefy. I mean, it has a ton of great information in it. Go through chapter by chapter, take an outline, take some notes, do the study questions in the back of the chapter, and that's really all you need. If you want to buy a special, like a practice test, they have those for like $50 to $80, but just getting the textbook would be about $100 to $150, and again, that depends on if you're a member. You can probably actually get it used, and that's how I would recommend doing it, because once you take the exam, you really don't need the book. You might want to keep it to look after, but a lot of people will resell it used, so look on Amazon or something for that. But again, like really $100 for the book and $300 for the exam, and you can be certified through the NSCA. And again, I recommend this for anyone who wants to work with sports or athletic populations. So, just as a quick review, ACE, that's the American Council on Exercise. That's a really good umbrella certification. It gets you in the door to work with a lot of different populations, and I do recommend that for anyone who just wants to start in a big box gym or even a small gym and become a personal trainer. It's a great one for anyone. Again, link in the description for how to get started with that. NASM is good for anyone with that systematic approach who wants to use the numbers and the assessments and have all those sheets that you can print out and follow and start to work with clients with those guidelines that way. NSCA, they'll also provide you with a bunch of good resources. Again, a little bit more focused to that strength and conditioning field. If that's where you want to go, highly recommend that one. Alright, so some bonus tips for you guys. If you go to interview for a personal training job, I would focus a little bit less on your certification, because that's kind of like a baseline. It's assumed that you have the certification. What's going to set you apart is your ability to communicate to people, to make sales, and to actually like work as a team with the other members in the gym. So if you think about it, it's a gym manager who probably has done some personal training and worked his way up to a gym manager position, who's going to be hiring you on for your first job. He just wants you to be able to competently work with clients. The clients, he wants them to be able to be happy with your service as a personal trainer working with them. So whenever you're trying to get hired, focus on your teamwork, your people skills, and your communication. Second tip, focus on finding a niche. As you're starting with personal training, it can be like kind of, I want to work with anyone, I will accept anyone, I just want to help people, and that's great. But if you start to kind of find out who you work the best with, whether that be like weight loss, athletes, women, youth, geriatrics, there's a huge market in any of those populations. So even if you can be a full-time personal trainer and have a packed schedule, and there will still be people waiting to work with you in geriatrics. I mean, for example, so there is no need to be all-encompassing. Even though it can seem a bit limiting, start to work yourself down to a population that you really enjoy working with and you can specialize in. You'll get a bunch of skills in that population. You'll be able to market yourself a little bit better, and if you ever want to work for yourself, you can start to put out information about how you work with that population, and it's just a good way to do it, is finding that niche that you like to work with. And then I'll talk a little bit about how I got started. So basically, about 5 years ago, I got my CPR and AED certification, took my CPT exam by, again, reading through the book, taking notes on all the chapters, and then just sat for the exam. The exam that I did was the ACE. It was 3 hours. I did it in about an hour and a half and got a passing score by a good bit. And that was just, again, from reading through the book, taking notes, and kind of being diligent about it. I was like, as soon as I knew I wanted to get the certified personal trainer and sit for the exam, I set a date, bought the test. Once you buy the material and buy the test, you have to do it within 6 months. So that's a good way to get started if you know you need a deadline. So schedule it, and then there's that deadline. On that date, I'm going to have to take the exam, so I better be ready. Outline what you have to do before that date and get it done. So I really do recommend kind of pushing yourself a little bit, because it's really easy to put it off. I know people who are in my same spot that put it off for a long time. Just book it, get it scheduled, and start studying. And just I want to talk a little bit about what is the movement system. So basically, After 5 years or so of personal training, I've worked with a ton of different clients and got a great experience with a lot of them. And then I'm continuing in school, so I did my exercise science degree. I got my exercise science degree from Ohio State, and then continued on to go to physical therapy school. And basically, I just put out information on Instagram at The Movement System, and through my podcast, The Movement System Podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and then also now through YouTube. And I just want to give a lot of information to you guys about how to succeed in personal training, how to work with clients, how to help people move better, feel better, live better, and enjoy their life. So if you guys are about that, go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment, and hopefully this helps you guys in terms of finding what certification is best for you. And if there's anything I can do to help, feel free to let me know in the comments or by email, and I'll put that in the description as well. Alright, thanks guys.